College of Nursing, where she achieved a degree as a registered nurse. Then she continued her studies at St. Joseph College, where she graduated with honors with a bachelor's degree in nursing. Her pursuit for knowledge continued at SUNY Downstate University. There, she graduated as a clinical nurse specialist with a master's degree in nursing. Her next achievement was a postgraduate studies at Columbia University, where she completed a degree in health information management. Currently, she is pursuing a PhD in original medicine at the International Institute of Original Medicine. She is employed at Interfaith Medical Center as a director of case management and transitional care department within the One Brooklyn healthcare system. As a certified gospel medical missionary with the Northeastern Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, God has laid a burden on her heart to reach out to the sick and suffering. Her greatest satisfaction comes from helping others to enjoy a better quality of life in getting better from their illness. She avails herself to at least 2 mission trips each year so that she can be of service to humanity as God has called her to do. Her dedication is to allow God to use her to relieve suffering and pain as she labor in his vineyard. She will continue to walk in his footsteps around the bedside of his children until Jesus returns. The next voice you will hear will be that of Sherry Cockfield Lawrence. Please give her your undivided attention.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go on.
Okay, I am so glad you're here and you took the time. And I promise you that you will not be disappointed. There's a lot of information. You can get your pen, get your paper, because there's lots to learn. And I hope at the end of this presentation that you would be able to use the information to help yourself as you live this life, this very troubled life that we have, that God has given to us, but He has also promised to help us as we endeavor to make it better for ourselves. So, what are we talking about this afternoon? I am going to share my screen with you. Um, okay, so we're talking about hypertension, and if I should ask someone what hypertension means, a lot of people in the community would not know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about high blood pressure. Very common in our community, especially among our people. And so this afternoon, as we look at this topic, I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible so that you can understand where you are. If you have the disease, you can understand how you can avoid getting high blood pressure so that you can have a better quality of life. So let's first look at the definition. When we say high blood pressure, what do we mean? It's a very common condition, but we're talking about the force of the blood against your artery walls that's high enough that it can affect other organs and cause problems. The blood flow against your artery is higher than it should be. So we all have blood pressure. Everybody needs blood pressure in order to live. But when it's above the normal level, that's where the problem comes. So let's look first of all at how we measure this blood pressure. Blood pressure is determined by both the amount of blood your heart pumps and the amount of resistance to the blood flow in your arteries. So the harder your heart has to pump, the greater the force that's going to go against your arteries as the blood flows through. The more blood your heart pumps, the narrower your arteries will be. and the higher your blood pressure will be. So there's a direct correlation between the force that your heart pumps the blood with and your blood pressure. So blood pressure has two numbers. And if I ask someone with blood pressure, what was your blood pressure this morning? They tell me it was 120/80. But what does that mean? The 120, which is the number at the top, is the systolic pressure, which measures the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats. It's called the systolic pressure. The bottom number, which is 80, we're talking about the diastolic pressure that measures the pressure against your arteries between the beats. So here's your heart pumping blood. It forces the blood through, and then there's a rest, and then it forces some more. So that's how we come up with the two numbers. When you measure your blood pressure, they say, the doctor may say to you, your blood pressure is 120/80. It means this is the force that initially goes through your arteries, and then here comes the rest after that force, before the force is encountered again. And so we get 120/80. So when we say we have high blood pressure, what are the symptoms of high blood pressure? What are some of the things we look for? The interesting thing about high blood pressure is that it does not always give you any symptoms or signs, even when it's dangerously high. And that's why sometimes we have relatives or friends and they pass out, and you take them to the hospital and their blood pressure is 200/100, and somebody says, but he never got any signs. That's high blood pressure. And it's called a silent killer because it does not always give you a sign. For those that may have a headache or a nosebleed or shortness of breath or chest pain or visual changes or blood in the urine, they're sort of fortunate to have had a sign. But usually when the pressure is high, you do not get any signs. So if you get one of these symptoms or signs, then it is something you should be grateful for, because it's a warning that your blood pressure is high. And a lot of people get headaches and so on and they ignore. But once you get a headache, you need to check. There are some reasons for headaches, many reasons. It can be you're hungry. It can be that your blood sugar is low. It can be that your blood pressure is high. It can be something else, but at least you need to check and see if your blood pressure is high. Now, on your doctor's visit, he would measure your blood pressure. You would check both arms. Well, this is what he's supposed to do, check both arms with the right size cuff so that he can come up with an average number. Because sometimes you check the right side and it's high, and you check the left side where the blood is just coming out of the heart and it's low. So the doctor needs to check both sides so that he can come to a conclusion and let you know. Is your pressure high? Is it normal? Is it at the borderline? And so he will be able to treat you in the right way. There are two types of blood pressure, and a lot of people do not even know this, but there are two types of blood pressure. And it's called, and I say blood pressure instead of using the word hypertension so that everyone is going to know what I'm talking about. So I might say hypertension and only the medical people may understand. So I'm saying high blood pressure so we can all understand, simple terms. You have primary or essential blood pressure. There is no identifiable cause of this blood pressure. If you go to the doctor and he says, so you have essential blood pressure, there's no reason he can identify why your pressure is high, but it's high. And it tends to develop over years. So as you get older, you may see your blood pressure increase. I'm sure some people had 90/60 when they were 16. And now they're 60, it might be 130/80. Which is not extremely high, but it's within that abnormal range. But at the same time, essential hypertension or blood pressure does not have an identifiable cause. The doctor cannot put his finger on a reason and say, oh, this is why you're having it. Everything else may be normal, but your blood pressure is just higher than normal. Okay, so we go to secondary hypertension. And this is caused by an underlying condition. So you can be dehydrated and have high blood pressure. Because if you do not drink enough water to flush your system out and get the toxins out your system, your blood pressure can be high. And this tends to appear suddenly and does not have any particular reason for it to appear at that time. But if the doctor checks on you, he can find a condition, an underlying condition that would lead to high blood pressure. And some of these conditions can be, you can have kidney disease, you can have a tumor on your adrenal gland. That's one of the glands that produce hormone to help to control that blood pressure. Your thyroid gland, a lot of people have thyroid problem and does not even know. But your thyroid, the amount of T3, T4 hormones that produced by your thyroid also affects your blood pressure. And some of them are hereditary. My mother had blood pressure. My grandmother had blood pressure. Most likely it's going to come up, but then you have to learn how to control it. Um, Not because your mother died of high blood pressure that you are going to die from it, but you have the tendency to. Therefore, you have to learn how to control it so that it does not get to the stage where it will kill you. Even to the drugs that we buy over the counter, if we have a pain, if we have pain or we have flu, we go to the pharmacy and we choose something to use. And some of those some of those over-the-counter painkillers and decongestants also have stuff in it or medicine in it that will cause your blood pressure to get high. Now, some of the prescription drugs that we use cause our pressure to get high. Just remember that. Not every time the doctor gives you a prescription drug, it may be contraindicated for you and your blood pressure might go up. So you have to look for that. In that case, you go back to the doctor and he's going to try to change it and work with you. So how do we understand our blood pressure readings? Let's say you go to the doctor and he says your blood pressure is less than 120/80. Now you should be saying glory, hallelujah, because that's normal. If it's under 90 or just about 90/60, he may say to you, you are dehydrated, you need to drink some water, but it's less than 120/80. So you can just go home and hydrate yourself. Now, if you go and it's like 129 over 80, let's say 85, 86, then you know that it's a little elevated because the top number is 129. And I'm saying the top number because if I say systolic, some people will not remember what I said. So the top number is 129. It's a little elevated because the American Heart Association has said they've recently decided that 120/80 is normal. A lot of the doctors don't agree because as people get older, their bodies sort of adjust and they may set their own parameters when it comes to blood pressure. Like I said, when you were 60, you might have had 90/60, but now you're 60 and not 16. You may have 130/80. If you think about it, you've been living with 130/80 for a long time. The doctor may try to keep it lower than that, but sometimes it's hard to get it down lower than that. He encourages you to try to keep it low, but your body has now adjusted to 120 or 129/80, and you do fine with it, but he will work with you. Now, if you go to the doctor and he says your blood pressure is 139/85, 86, 89, then you have what we call stage 1 hypertension. Stage 1 means it's just outside the normal range. And so now the doctor has to make a decision, and we're going to talk about that just now. Now, if you go and he says you have your blood pressure is 140 or higher, and the number at the bottom is 90 or higher, now you really need some attention because your blood pressure should never get as high as 140/90 or 95 or even 100. There are times when years ago, when your blood pressure is 140/80, they'll say, okay, it's high, but not that high. But because of this, the new guidelines that the American Heart Association has given us, then we see it as being high and we see it as stage 2. because stage 1 is when it was a little lower. Stage 2, now it has gone 140, 150, 160 over 90 or 95 or 96. So that's stage 2 hypertension, and you need some help. Now, when you hear somebody goes to the hospital with a blood pressure of 180 over 100 or 110, they are in a crisis. That's when things begin to happen. They may have chest pain, they may have dizziness, visual changes where their eyes get sort of cloudy and they can't see. They might have passed out, and now you need help because you have to go to the hospital. You need to go to the emergency room once it gets, anybody measures your blood pressure. Even if you go to the doctor and he says your blood pressure is 180 over 90, he may give you, if you're his regular patient, he may give you some pill, whether it's a water pill or something, and tell you to drink it, and he's going to watch you for like half an hour to see if it's going to be effective. If not, he will send you to the hospital to get some help. So what are the risk factors in us having high blood pressure? Age. Like I said before, blood pressure increases with age. So at approximately 64, hypertension was mostly in men. When men get to 64, age 64, most of them had high blood pressure. Some of them never had it before. Some of them don't even know that they have hypertension, but they had it mostly. And women are more likely to develop hypertension or high blood pressure after age 65. Well, that was when the research was done, but nowadays, working at the hospital, we find that women do not even have to get to 65 to have hypertension. We have young people coming in their 20s that have hypertension, and the doctor starts them on medication. And we're going to look at why and other things that they can do a little later. What about race? We as a people, African heritage, we are more likely or most likely to get blood pressure at an earlier age than whites. And so we have a lot of complications come with high blood pressure, like heart attack, stroke, kidney problems, kidney failure, and so on, that are common among us people. For those who were in church yesterday, Pastor spoke about salt and our ancestors had to eat all the salted food because that's what they were given. And it has affected us in some way or the other, because as they moved into that phase of eating salty food, then we have the inherent high blood pressure coming down throughout their generations. So your great grandmother might have had it, then your grandmother got it, then your mother got it, or your dad got it, and now it's you. But like I said, not because they had it, you have to have it. You just have to be aware of the fact that you can have it because you're at a higher risk. Not only because of your race, but sometimes because of your age and because of the fact that it's hereditary. Your family history, it runs in your family. Now, there's some things we cannot avoid. We cannot choose our families. So if it is in our family, it is. We just have to take precautionary measures to make sure that we do not die from high blood pressure. Then we have those who are overweight. Now, the amount of blood that flows through your system increases if you have more weight, because you need more blood to circulate. And so as you put on weight and the blood increases, so does the pressure on your artery. So the more blood you need to push through, the more the force that is going to go through your arteries and affect the walls. What about the sedentary lifestyle? Most of us sit and watch TV for 3-4 hours. Very bad. Even if you're watching TV, you need to get up and stretch. Every hour you need to get up, and for 5-10 minutes, you can do what we used to do years ago when we didn't have gyms. That's mark time. Stand up and march in the same spot. Lift your feet, lift your arms, do something, but do not sit there for 3-4 hours and do nothing. Because if you do, your heart has the harder work to pump this blood through your arteries because you're sitting in the one position for so long. So inactivity not only increases the chance of you getting high blood pressure, it also increases the chance of you becoming obese. And once you're obese, then we have the problem I just spoke about. More blood being pumped and your heart working much harder than it is supposed to. Another risk factor is using tobacco. Whether you smoke it or you chew it, it raises your blood pressure. And it also, the chemicals from the tobacco also affect the walls of your arteries. So it causes your arteries to narrow, and then it increases the chance of you getting heart disease. So that is why if you are going to have a healthy lifestyle, they say to you, do not smoke. There is a health reason behind that. What about salty food? We like chips, and in this society, it's fast food. Most of the fast food has a lot of salt, um, and they can cause you to retain fluid and increase your blood pressure. So McDonald's is not your friend if you have blood pressure, high blood pressure. Too little potassium. Most of us need eat foods that are not high in potassium. You have fruits, you have vegetables that are high in potassium. You need to consume those if you have high blood pressure. If your diet is deficient in potassium, it makes it much easier for you to have a breakdown in your system. And so your pressure can go up just because your diet is low in potassium. You have kale, spinach, all those things have potassium, bananas, um, the berries, you have all those foods that we can eat to give us enough potassium during the day. What about alcohol? We are told to stay away from alcohol, not because you can drive and hit somebody and kill them, but because you can damage your heart in the process of using alcohol, and you can also increase your blood pressure. Stress, one of the biggest causes of or risk factors in high blood pressure is stress. There's something we call normal or usual stress. That's like you leave home, you got to take the bus, you're running for the bus, you're running for the train, you're running to get to work. You call it usual stress because those are things in our everyday life that will stress us out. But once you get to work, take a deep breath and you relax. Most times the stress level goes down. But once your stress level is high, it can increase your blood pressure. Something that's simple that can increase our stress level is overeating. Now we know that we should not overeat, but a lot of us eat until we cannot eat anymore. Once you can sit and say, I cannot take another bite, it means you have overeaten. Anytime you're finished eating, you should be able to say, you know what? I still could have eaten a little more. But always remember that you have to leave that space where you can say that. Then you would have eaten enough and not overeaten. But once you have to say, I can't take another bite, you have just overeaten. So our stress level can also increase when we smoke and when we drink. What about chronic illnesses? Some of these increase our blood pressure, like diabetes, kidney disease, and when you do not sleep at night. A lot of people have this problem of not being able to sleep. Now, the first thing, if you tell somebody you can't sleep, they're going to say, okay, what happened to you? Is something stressing you out? But sometimes it's just because our melatonin has decreased. And maybe we need to drink something that will calm us down. Maybe we need to look at what we eat during the day before we go to sleep. We need to look at how late we eat before we go to sleep, and all the other things. If you clear your mind, you can relax and go to sleep. If we are running just before we are ready to go to bed, we will never be able to sleep because we are still hyper. We have to calm down from being hyper in order to sleep. And so if you go to work and you come home, you need to give yourself some time to relax before it's bedtime. If you don't and you run until bedtime, you would lie for an hour or so before you go to sleep. If when you go on bed, you crash and you go to sleep, thank you, Jesus, you got some sleep despite the fact that you were running. But most likely your body is so tired that you're going to go to sleep immediately. But we need to look at not sleeping. Not sleeping raises your blood pressure. So now we know there are two types of blood pressure. How do we treat these two types? Like I said, primary blood pressure is the one where there's no identifiable reason why your pressure is high. It's just high. Um, and most times you go to the doctor and he said, oh, okay, your pressure is high, but I can't find out why it's high because everything else is normal. It means he should start you on what we call lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes where he would tell you go for a walk during the day. He may say to you, eat whatever diet you're eating. He may have you change your diet, eat less salt. And if that doesn't work, he put you on medication. But the first thing he's supposed to do is ask you to change the way you eat, the way you live, try to decrease your stress and some other means, but not medication first. But lately, the doctors have been doing it the easier way. Once your blood pressure is high the first time, they do not say lifestyle changes. They give you medication. But really, they should ask you and help you to come up with a diet. You should see a dietitian if you can't do it on your own. And he should tell you about exercising and relaxation so that your blood pressure, you can help your blood pressure to come down. Secondary hypertension, this is the one I said before, there's an underlying problem. So what the doctor does, he tries to identify what the problem is and treat that problem so that you can you can decrease your blood pressure and it will not remain persistently high. But if after all that treating the condition, it is still high, then he will give you medication and he will put you on lifestyle changes. Well, he should. Um, and please remember, the treatment plans evolve. So if you go to the doctor and he gives you 100 milligrams of metoprolol, and you go back the next time and your blood pressure drops too low, then he's going to change it. That's what we mean by evolving. Because he changes your medication as he looks at your blood pressure again. If your blood pressure is consistently high when you go back, then he might either increase or change your medication so that he's trying to find something that your body will respond to and lower your blood pressure. These are the types of medication they may give you, and I don't expect you to learn any of these. This is just information. But every one of these medications, whether he gives you hydrochlorothiazide or he gives you Norvax or whatever blood pressure medication he gives you, Lopresso, any one of them, they all do, they have different actions, but the aim is for them to reduce your blood pressure or lower your blood pressure. So there are 5 categories of medications that he may choose to give you, or you may combine them in order to lower your blood pressure. But the aim is to lower your blood pressure. So they all have different mechanisms of how they work, but they all are given to you so that your blood pressure can get lower. Now, what are the complications of high blood pressure? One is heart attack or a stroke. A lot of people have heart attacks because despite the fact that they're on medication, their blood pressure keep being consistently high and all the risk factors are still in place. because they still eat a lot of salty food. And people have a bad way of saying, okay, I'm going to eat this and then I'll take my medication. That does not work either. You cannot be eating anything you want and then say, I'll take my medicine. It doesn't work that way. If you're taking medicine for that, for your high blood pressure, then you need to try to abide with the rules. The rule is you eat less salt, you drink water, and when we go down, we're going to see other things that you need to do. But you cannot just tell yourself, I'm going to eat anything, whether the food is salt or not, and I'm going to take my medicine. It never works. Some people get an aneurysm, complications from high blood pressure. You can get aneurysm. That's where one of your vessels, because of the stress of the blood going through, it may start a bulge and cause an aneurysm. And that's how you get bleeding and so on, because you can get aortic aneurysm, the aorta, the vessel in your abdomen. It can, if the pressure is too hard when your blood is going through, it can burst, it can rupture. Same thing can happen in your head. When you hear people fall suddenly and you go to the hospital and say, oh, you had an aneurysm, that's because the pressure going through the blood vessel was too much and it bulged. The vessel either gonna bulge or it's gonna burst or it's gonna rupture. That means it's gonna go out of shape. You can also get heart failure, because remember, your heart is the one pumping the blood. So the harder the heart has to work, the more the probability that something is going to happen. You can get left-sided heart failure, right-sided heart failure, but you can get heart failure. When the blood goes through, you can weaken or narrow the blood vessels in your kidney. So now you have kidney disease. All this is a result of high blood pressure because it's not controlled. So the pressure is constantly going through your blood vessels, and at some point they're going to give way. You can have thickened or torn blood vessels in your eyes. So sometimes some people go to the doctor and they're bleeding in their eyes, and that's a result of high blood pressure. Metabolic syndrome, it means that you're not using up the energy in your body like you should. So now you have a greater waist size, means you go from a 32 waist to a 37, then you need to check yourself because your pressure might be really, really high and you do not even know, but you're constantly taking the medication the doctor gave you, but it's not working. So once you see the waist size keep increasing, you need to go back to your doctor. Your triglycerides, means the fat in your system may be high. Your cholesterol too may be high. You may have problems with your memory and understanding, cognitive impairment because of high blood pressure. And then worst of all, you may have dementia. That may be the beginning of your period of dementia. But that is not the only reason why you get dementia, so you cannot really say that blood pressure always gives you dementia. Dementia really can start with a deficiency in vitamin B1 or one of those things that you need to keep your memory going. So after all that, what does the Bible say about our health? Because in everything we do, we have to remember God did not make us and just leave us alone to do what we feel like doing in this world. From the time he made Adam and Eve, he gave instructions. And a lot of times we do not follow the instructions. And so in 3 John 1:2, we are told that God wishes above all things that we may prosper and be in good health, like our soul prospered. So he is concerned about our health in 1 Corinthians 10:31. And that was the scripture read at the beginning. Whether therefore you eat or drink, whatsoever you do, do it all to the glory of God. So in everything we do, if we overeat, we are sinning. If we eat the wrong things, we're sinning against our bodies, because God has given us a statement in 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. He tells us that our body is a temple of the Holy Ghost, and we are not our own. Therefore, If God has lent us these bodies that we live in, then we need to care for it because we will have to give an account for them on the day of judgment. So God is concerned about our health, and He is concerned about what we put in our bodies. Because if we cannot serve God with weak bodies, and so if He wants us to be co-workers with Him, He expects us to have healthy bodies so that we can do the work that He has given us to do. So we have to be concerned in what we put in our bodies. So how do we adhere to God's principles when it comes to our bodies and keeping ourselves fit? Now, sometimes if we talk about the laws of health, people ask, where do you get it from? But the Bible has the laws of health, and it tells us in the Bible, if you go through the Bible, about the laws of health. Um, if you go back to creation, God made the sunshine, the plants, the animals. He made even to the day of rest, the Sabbath, for man. He did not just put us in a garden and leave us. He gave us everything we needed to be healthy and to live so that we can live for Him. Everything we needed. So He gave us sunshine. Why is sunshine so important? It's important because we can get vitamin D from sunshine. And in this part of the world, we know that, we have about three months of sunshine. That's all. And we need to utilize those 3 months. Most likely during the fall or the spring, we may not get as much sunshine as we should. And if we do jobs where we stay indoors most of the time, then we're deficient in vitamin D. Most of the people in this part of the world is deficient in vitamin D. Therefore, if we cannot get enough sunshine, our food and a supplement will do, but we need sunshine. We also need to be temperate in all things that we do. I keep emphasizing overeating because it's a very common thing that people do. When we eat 5, 6 things at the same time, and we are too full. We should, if we want to be temperate and stay within the guidelines of being healthy, then we should look at what we eat and how much we eat and when we eat what we eat. Activity. We should exercise in the mornings, especially to allow healthful circulation of blood throughout the body. Just a walk in the park would be beneficial. It means half an hour every day. If you do it between the hours of, let's see, sunrise and 2 p.m., that's fine. You can walk for half an hour every day. Exercise. As you walk, you move your arms, you move your legs, and you take deep breaths. Believe me, you will feel refreshed and revived. Exercise is going to help you very much with your blood pressure. It helps to lower your blood pressure. Rest. Adults should sleep 6 to 8 hours every night. And I know it's a hard thing to do because some of us are so busy, we go to sleep at midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. But believe me, it takes an effort to go to sleep earlier, but it's very healthy for you to do so. I have problems going to sleep earlier because, when you go to school a long time, you learn to sleep on 4 and 5 hours of rest, but it's bad for you. So I had to make a conscious effort to get to bed before midnight so that I can get the rest that I need and my body needs. During the time you rest is when your body repairs itself and gives you energy so that next morning you get up, you feel refreshed and revived and you're ready to go again. Trust in God. We need to believe in a divine power that controls our existence. We did not just happen. God created us. He's going to care for us, but we need to trust Him. So Isaiah 26:3-4 says, "Thou shalt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee." And so we need to be able to trust in someone that can control, we know controls the affairs of this world. It gives you peace. The fact that you trust someone and you know He's there for you and He will do anything for you means that you will live in peace, because it gives you satisfaction to know that He has your back and you're not just existing. So we need to trust in divine power. Nutrition. When you eat, you're either feeding a disease or fighting a disease. You have to choose which one you want to do. But we expect you to fight a disease and not feed one. Fighting a disease means whatever you eat is nutritious for your body so that you have your immune system is working right, and whatever is going on in your body, it will be able to fight because you have given it the nutrition that it needs. Let your food be your medicine. And I'm sure you've heard that statement so many times. Whatever you eat should be able to help to sustain your body, not make it sick. I'm going to repeat that. Whatever you eat should help you to sustain your body and not make it sick. That's something we need to remember. Each time you put something in your mouth, remember, is this good for me or am I inviting a disease into my body? Eat fresh vegetables and whole grains, unsalted nuts, seeds every day, and eat a balanced diet. And that is very important for your blood pressure. If you want to lower your blood pressure, eat fresh fruits. Eat your fruits in the morning on an empty stomach. Eat your vegetables during the day. Do not overcook them. Steam them and eat them. Eat whole grain bread. Eat nuts. You can eat nuts every day, but make sure they're unsalted and you don't need to eat a container of nuts. You need a handful of nuts every day. And seeds like pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, they're good for you. But make sure you eat a balanced diet where you have protein and you have fiber and whatever else that you need in that diet. You need to eat everything at the same time. Do not eat at 2 o'clock, your lunch at 2, and at 2:30 you're snacking. You don't eat between meals. It's very bad for you. It will not help your blood pressure to come down if you eat between meals. Avoid dairy products and meat. Meat puts stress on your system because your system takes 4-5 hours not only to digest that food, but then for it to come out of your body takes like 48 hours for that piece of meat to be excreted out of your body. That's stress. Dairy products, if you have high blood pressure, you do not need. Things like cheese, no, you do not need that. Things like milk, it's very fatty and it is not doing good for you. You can get calcium from broccoli, you can get calcium from almond milk or coconut milk or some other milk that you use, but you do not have to eat a piece of cheese to get your calcium. You do not even have to eat a piece of meat to get protein. You can get it from beans, peas, nuts. You have protein in all that. Oxygen. We love in the winter to keep our windows closed. And even some people are so scared they keep their windows closed in the summer. You need to open your windows so that you can have air exchange and you can breathe some fresh air. When you sleep, you may be scared that somebody may climb through your window to get to you. Just crack the window a little so that during your sleep, there can be air exchange going in and out. The air is going to come in, air is going to go out. Put some plants in your house so that you can have some pure air circulating in your house. Water, very important. Like I said, your blood pressure can be low because you're dehydrating. Your blood pressure can be high because you're overhydrating. But you should try to drink 8 to 10 glasses of water per day. And I said distilled water because distilled water is not, you really do not have to go buy it at the store. If you boil water in the morning for tea, you boil a kettle of water. When the water cools out, that's distilled water. You can drink it. It's better than buying a bottle of water in the store. Your distilled water is pure water because you would have boiled it and now it's cool and you can drink it. But make sure you drink your 8 to 10 glasses of water per day. Now, how do we prevent ourselves from being hypertensive or having high blood pressure? Just now I did the acronym START. Now, START, when we spoke about nutrition, oxygen, and water. So how do we prevent ourselves from getting high blood pressure if you do not have it? Like I said, it's hereditary. So sometimes you know your mother had it, your grandmother had it. Not necessarily you're going to have it, but you can try to prevent it and guide yourself along the way so that it doesn't become a problem. So how do we do that? First, you can follow the acronym I just went through with you, the laws of health. Then you can adjust the way you think about your dinner or lunch plate. Some people just eat anything that comes around. When you eat, like I said, you're either fighting a disease or feeding a disease. So think about that each time you think about eating lunch or dinner or whatever you're eating. Is this good for me? First thing. Then you ask yourself, when you have decided what you're going to eat, then you ask yourself, is this too much for me? Am I overeating? So you have to adjust the way you think about eating. You can't just eat anything and you can't just eat any amount. You have to ask yourself these questions before you start to eat. Cut the sugar that you're eating. We love to eat cookies. We need to cut the cookies out because it's added sugar that you do not need. Sodas. Some people love sodas. They must have a Coke every day. It's not doing any good for you if you have high blood pressure. You have to remember when you eat sugar, it goes into your blood, it thickens your blood. So there is a problem. When your blood gets thick, it has to push through your blood vessels and your pressure gets high because your blood has more, your heart has more work to do and the blood is thicker. So it's pushing and it's pushing and it's pushing to get that blood through so it can sustain your body. If you if your blood is too thick because you ate a lot of sugar, then the pushing is with more force, your blood pressure gets more high. Again, drink a lot of water so that your blood can flow through your body. But at the same time, do not put a lot of pressure on yourself by eating sugary food and drinking sugary drinks like sodas. Set weight loss goals for yourself. Now, I can't lose the weight for you. You have to lose it for yourself. So you need to know if I'm a 200 pounds, I need to lose 50 pounds. And sit and think about it. Set your goal. If you want to use 50 pounds, think about it. How am I going to lose these 50 pounds? If you have to write it down, write down what I'm going to do. I'm going to exercise half an hour each day. I'm going to not eat the cookie or the piece of cake that I normally eat. I am going to drink my 8 to 10 glasses of water every day. You have to set weight loss goals and stick to them so that you can lose weight. The more weight you have, the harder your heart has to pump, push that blood throughout your body. And then you need to monitor your blood pressure regularly. Now, most of us go to the doctor once a year for a checkup. If you know you have blood pressure, most likely he's going to tell you come back every 3 months because he's trying to work with you in lowering your blood pressure. So when you go, he's going to take your blood pressure. But it's good if you can have an automatic machine at home and you can take your blood pressure. And hopefully you do not go into panic when you see what your blood pressure is. In any case, if you measure your blood pressure and it's high, let's say at night you feel your head is beginning to hurt and your blood pressure is like 150 over 100. Don't panic. Get up, get a piece of garlic, chew it. It works. If you have turmeric, these are the things you need to keep in your houses. If you have turmeric, you can make a cup of turmeric tea. That also helps to clean the blood up and it's going to thin your blood so it can flow. You can have an enema. A lot of people might not want to do that, but it works. If you have cucumber at home, blend some cucumber and garlic, drink it. It's going to help you for that moment. But after it has gone down, just ask yourself, what did I eat to take my blood pressure up? I need to avoid eating whatever it was that you eat. If I'm stressed out, I need to relax. I need to go to bed earlier so that I can bring my blood pressure down. Also, you can get beets and garlic and blend them together and drink. It's a very good, tasty drink, but it will help to take your blood pressure down for that moment. some people do beets and garlic every morning just to keep their blood pressure as low as it should be. You also have to tell yourself, I need to continue my 30 minutes a day walk in the park, around the park, but I need to do that every day. Drink half a lemon in a cup of hot water every morning. Is going to help to clean your system out and keep your blood pressure where it should be. And like I said before, sleep 8 hours every night. I mean, it's sometimes it really gets to you, but their research has been done that that shows that people that had very high blood pressure, once they started to sleep 6 to 8 hours a night, it started to go down. Because during that time, your body has enough time to rest and your organs can repair themselves and be energized for the next day. So sleeping is very important. So now we have come to the end of our learning session. I will take your questions. If you just put them in the chat or raise your hand and you can ask the question. Anyone has a question?
Yeah. Sister Sherry, I've been having problems with my pressure, even though I'm on medication. The doctors has tried and they gave me, they switched the medication, but no matter what they do, my pressure is not going down. You know, I mean, we've been trying everything that's possible, but my pressure is not moving. What do I do, man?
Okay, so like I said, the 8 laws of health. I'm going to pull it back up on the screen. Your vitamin D might be low, first thing. So these are things you need to have your doctor check. Your vitamin D may be low. If it's low, your pressure will be high. Now, temperance, like I said, anything you do in moderation. So whatever you're eating, whatever you're doing, make sure you do it within limits. Activity, do you exercise in the morning? You need to start exercising. See, sometimes it takes a combination, like I said, of medication and natural things to get it together. Sometimes one without the other does not work, especially when things like high blood pressure is persistent. You need to combine the two things.
Who is that?
You need to sleep at night, and I'm sure that might be one of the biggest problems of the weeks.
Yes, I have that. That's a problem with me. I have sleep apnea, and although I use a machine to help me sleep and all of those things, I just can't sleep. Believe me, I try everything that I know. I try everything that I was told, and I can't sleep. I don't know what happened. You know, I'm not worried. I'm not stressed. And yet I can't sleep. I just don't understand that being.
But you see, being stressed and being worried, sometimes we think we are not stressed.
Well, I would like to find out what it is because
Exactly.
I don't feel stressed.
And I know you trust God, so I can't even tell you that's the thing that's missing. So rest is one thing you have problems with, and your what do you eat? You have to now look at your diet and see what is it I'm eating. Our bodies need salt, but our bodies need something called gray salt or pink salt, not the salt we buy in the store.
Yeah, I don't like salt anyway. So.
Because the salt we buy in the store is just salt. It doesn't have any nutritional value. But our bodies may need iodine because it affects your thyroid if you don't have enough iodine in your body.
Well, you said that if you take like almond milk, normally I don't drink regular milk. I like almond milk and things like that. I take, but I don't take the dairy that comes from animals. You think that has any effect on me whatsoever?
Which milk do you drink?
Almond milk. That's
That's
basically,
fine. Almond milk is fine.
yeah.
Maybe you need to take a warm cup of almond milk like an hour before you're ready to go to your bed.
Okay.
A
Okay.
warm cup, not a cold cup.
Yes. Yeah.
Never drink cold drinks.
Okay.
Always drink it warm. Maybe you
Alright.
need to put some chamomile, chamomile tea bag in it because it relaxes you anyway. Chamomile would relax you
Okay.
before to sleep.
All right.
And like I said, crack your window open so you get fresh air. All these things may make us not go to sleep very easily. Place might be too stuffy, and it's the same air if you lock your house up, it's the same air that's circulating for the last how many years. So unless you open your window, you'll not get any fresh air.
Mhm. All right.
Okay, and I can talk with you after this.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Someone asked in the chat about wine. If they can have a glass of wine before they go to sleep.
No worry them things.
Wine with their dinner. Now, what did the Bible say about wine? Anyone can
mocker.
huh?
Wine is a
Mocker
mocker.
and a strong drink.
So if wine is a mocker, why would we want to drink it?
Take a little wine for the stomach's sake. Don't worry me.
Well, I think, people have always made a statement, but when I really research it, wine was not referring to the fermented thing that we drink.
Yeah.
I think it was referring to fruit juice, which is more like antioxidant than a danger to us, because your antioxidants will do very good for you. It will rid your body of free radicals. So if we get berries and make some juice out of it and drink it, fine.
Okay. All right. So,
Any other questions?
nobody has a question.
I have a comment. I raised my hand.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know you said to drink a whole lot of water. I don't know how that's going to go down. However, I have a little tip on how you could get your water down, which is if you take a mouthful of water every 10 minutes, it will help you to get your allotted amount of water in. So be it 8 to 10 glasses or half your body weight, if you get a mouthful every 10 minutes and just swallow, swish it around a little bit, then before you know it, you would have gotten in your required amount of water, and your body would actually use the water instead of it just going in when you gulp it down. So that's my comment about getting the water in. And with regards to the sugar, I think that was eye-opening, knowing that sugar affects your blood pressure. All along, we know that salt affects your blood pressure, or the sodium. Never thought that sugar would be associated with the high blood pressure. Usually we think of diabetes, so that is an eye-opener. So if all of us are trying not to get diabetes, sugar diabetes, and we're thinking about not eating the sweet stuff, then we also need to, or we learned tonight that the high blood pressure is also a factor with our sugar. So thank you for sharing that tonight, Miss Cockfield.
You're welcome. And a lot of people, yes, they do. When you think about eating sweet things, they think about diabetes. Now, when you eat something sweet, for instance, take a cup of let's say apple juice and add some sugar. It gets very thick. That's exactly what you do to your blood when you add sugar. It gets very thick. So now here is a problem. You're trying to send your blood through your veins and through your arteries. And here it is, you just thickened it. So now the heart has to pump harder to try to get that blood through. And that's a lot of times that's why people, the blood pressure goes up and people are saying, well, why did my pressure go up? Well, you had something sweet, didn't you? And then there are, like I said, even to try to thin your blood is good because now you eat the sweet, you have to thin your blood for it to go through your system. So here comes the water drinking. And you have to remember when you drink water, do not gulp a bottle of or half of a bottle of water down. Your body can only take like 2 ounces of water at a time. It can only digest that much at a time. So you are supposed to sip water, not drink water. In the mornings, the first thing you do, you can have warm water with lemon. Okay, you're trying to like wake your organs up and clean the system out. So you can drink water at that point. But anytime after that during the day, you need to sip your water, not drink your water. Because when you drink water, if you drink, some people take a bottle of water and just drink it right down. Then you go to the bathroom and you let it out. So the only set that stays in your system is like 2 ounces. So now your body is still dehydrated because the water went right through. It only took 2 ounces. That's the only amount that your body can utilize in any given period of time. You cannot force it to adjust to 10 ounces or 8 ounces of water when you drink it. The 6 is going to go out and the 2 is going to stay. So that's why people say, well, I drink water and I still feel thirsty. Yes, because you drank the water, it went through your system because you went to the bathroom and got it out.
Mercy.
Stay in your system to hydrate your system.
Well, you just cramped my style in getting my 8 glasses.
Well, if you start with 1 early in the morning, the weeks you can pace yourself every hour to drink some or every 2 hours. And like I said, sip the water, don't drink the water. The first glass in the morning, you drink it with your lemon, that's fine. But after that, you need to sip.
Okay, all right.
So that you can be hydrated.
Yes, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If you do not want to ask the questions now, you can call me.
Recording in progress.
And I figure there are a lot of people. Just a moment. There are a lot of people that may not want to publicly ask questions because they think that they do not want us to know that everyone to know they have high blood pressure. They're thinking about it or whatever it is. So you can call me after this. My number is 917-678-9669. I'm going to repeat it, 917-678-9669. You can text me, you can call me, and I can speak with you offline.
I got my hand up.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
So I heard the gentleman with the question before that you were answering his question, and he mentioned that he doesn't like salt. But I would just like for you to emphasize the importance of having salt in our diet, because lack of salt does create its own set of issues. So can you just say a little bit on that, the importance of having good salt, not the powdered stuff, the good salt in your diet, the importance of having salt in our diet?
Yes, because salt is used for flavor, yes. But what your body really needs is the iodine out of the salt. So when you go to the store and you buy a box of salt or whatever they sell in the grocery store, it does not have enough iodine that your body needs. Now, why you need iodine? Your thyroid. You need iodine. Remember, your thyroid is a gland that produces hormone that balances the activities in your system. So if you do not have enough iodine, in your body, then you will have thyroid problems. Now you can have hypothyroidism, means your thyroid is under functioning, and you can have, if you have too much iodine, you can have hyperthyroidism. So you have to strike a balance. And because your body needs, a lot of people with high blood pressure, because the doctor said, don't eat salt, they don't eat any salt. So now they have a thyroid problem because they do not have enough iodine in your body. So you need the iodine. Therefore, if you use pink salt, remember Himalaya salt, pink salt, or gray salt, which is another one, it's good for you. Do not use salt to taste. See, when you see recipes with salt to taste, it means you're gonna over salt your food, because you know you're gonna taste the salt in the food. You need to use a pinch of salt when you cook, because the salt should really be for flavor. Even when you use the iodized salt, or the pink salt, or the gray salt, the only thing about those salts, it produces or it gives you enough iodine that you need for your body and for your thyroid to function in the right way. So that's why your body needs the salt. You can't just not use any salt. The only thing is the salt, the type of salt you use is going to make the difference. So you do not need to go to the grocery store and buy salt unless they sell pink salt or gray salt. And I want you to make a note and write it down. You're either going to buy the pink one or the gray one, so that you can get the iodine that you need.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If we have no other questions, thank you for being here tonight. I hope that you have learned something from what was said and that you will take note of it. I hope you made your notes. And like I said, if you have any other questions when you lie down and think about it, you can call me. I am here. I will try to help you as much as possible, because high blood pressure seems to be plaguing people, whether they're in the church or out the church. It's just a community problem, the high blood pressure, diabetes. Therefore, whatever I can do to help you, I will. Sometimes we have to break bad habits in order to live longer and live healthier lives, because God expects us to obey his laws of health, so that we can have healthy lives and we can enjoy our life. If we are sick, we cannot work for God. Always remember that. We need healthy people to work for him. If you're sick, you can't go out to witness.
That's so
Stay
true.
home and try, but you can't go out.
Mhm.
And that may become a problem after a while. So in order for you to work faithfully to God, you need to have healthy bodies. And we can only have that if we follow God's laws of health.
Amen. Amen.
It's like you buy a car and you're going to follow the manual. Our bodies, think of it as a car. God lent it to us. And we need to follow the manual. He gave us the laws of health in the Bible from the beginning, and we need to try as much as possible to follow it, because only the manufacturer would know what is good for your body or what is good for your car. You don't know, because you didn't make yourself, neither did you make your car. So you have to follow that manual, and it's the same thing with our bodies. We are the temple of God. We need to follow God's manual and do all that we can, and God will do the rest for us. Thank you for listening and for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cockfield. So everyone, thank you for coming. Remember, we'll be on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Please invite a friend to come so that they can hear the information. Share the link, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7. May the Lord watch between me and you while we're absent one from another. Amen. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.